Hello and welcome to the channel. Well, it's time, you guys. It's time for me to do another one of these overview videos. This is a type of video segment I've been doing since 2018, and I'll probably be doing it for the years to come. But with these overview videos, I'm going to be going over all the bands that I've gotten into this year in 2020, and I just want to go over the bands and just talk about them a little bit with you guys. And yeah, I've been doing these types of videos since 2018, and this year will be without exception. So I'll be going over all the bands that I've gotten into in 2020, and I'll just talk about them with you guys. Now, I didn't get into that many bands this year. I got about 4 bands on this list, which I know is not many. There would have been 6 on this list, except the 2 bands that are not going to be on this list have honestly really fell off for me. I mean, I really don't return to these 2 bands very often, and my time with these bands, I guess, were kind of short-lived, you could say. But the 2 bands were Avenged Sevenfold and Shinedown. Now, this may not come off as a surprise to some people. Now, with Avenged Sevenfold, I just really can't drive myself to return to their music. I think they're one of those bands that if you didn't get into them early in your metal journey, then there's a good chance that you're probably never gonna be heavily into them. And I think that's kind of the case with me, because Avenged Sevenfold was not one of my first bands. Now, I think they're technically a good band, but they just don't really wow me that much, and they're not really they just don't really do much for me. They really lack replay value. So I think I just have to be honest and say that Avenged Sevenfold, they really don't do a whole lot for me. And same could be said about Shinedown. Now, the thing is with Shinedown is they're 2000s rock, and 2000s rock is kind of something that I grew out of. I just kind of grown out of that edgy modern rock phase, I guess. I don't know. When it comes to modern rock or 2000s rock, I'm just going to stick with the bands that I've been familiar with for many years, like Breaking Benjamin and Red and 3 Days Grace. I just think that my time with this particular music is far behind me. So Shinedown, I hate to say it, but I honestly have a hard time getting into them. I can't drive myself to return to them or anything, so yeah, probably not a band that's ever going to be for me. But that's why there's only 4 bands on this list. So let's go ahead and get started. And I think we'll start off with Def Leppard. Of course, classic rock, really great bands. This is definitely a band that I wish I would have gotten into sooner. Definitely a really great band. To pick favorite albums from them, it's rather tough. I'd say Pyromania is definitely my favorite from them. Following that up, maybe Adrenalize, Hysteria, High and Dry. Those are all really great albums. But yeah, definitely a great band. I mean, I know some people might say they're a little too glammy for them or whatever, but that personally never bothered me, to be honest. I really like their sound and how 80s they sound. Obviously, they've released a lot of great material in the 80s, so yeah, if you're into classic rock, definitely check these guys out. So Def Leppard, definitely a great band. This is probably a band I'm going to continue to listen to for the years to come. Definitely a great band. Now, the next band I want to talk about is Van Halen, another band I wish I would have gotten into earlier. Now, I am glad to say that I did become a fan of Van Halen before the passing of Eddie Van Halen. May he rest in peace. He's one of the greatest guitar players, and this band, definitely really great. I mean, they're definitely one of my favorite bands in classic rock. That goes without saying. I think they're one of the best rock bands in general. But yeah, I like most of their material. Van Halen 3 is probably their weakest album. In fact, not just probably, it is their weakest album easily. But some of my favorite albums from them would be Fair Warning, which is probably my #1 favorite from them. The debut album, which is my second favorite. I really love that album. What else? Um, 1984, that's a great album. 5150. Diver Down, which I think is pretty underrated. Yeah, they have a lot of great albums. I like most of their material, especially their late 70s, early 80s material. That's when they were really at their peak. But yeah, definitely a great band. Now, when it comes to the vocalists, I do prefer David Lee Roth over Sammy Hagar. Now, both vocalists are really good. I really like both vocalists. I know a few people that actually do prefer Sammy Hagar's era, but I think maybe that's because, his era is a little more accessible, I guess. David Lee Roth's era has like a more fun vibe to it. I feel like Sammy's era is a little more serious, if that makes sense, but I don't know. There's just something I like more about David Lee Roth more. I think because the majority of Van Halen's classics came from his era, of course. But yeah, both of them are great vocalists, though, but I just happen to prefer David Lee Roth. But Van Halen, definitely a great band. Again, if you like classic rock, definitely check these guys out. Definitely one of the greatest classic rock bands. But the next band I want to talk about is Deftones, another band I wish I would have gotten into sooner. And maybe my favorite band that I've gotten into this year. I don't know. Either this band or Van Halen is my favorite band that I've gotten into in 2020. It is a bit of a tough call, but it's definitely a cross between those two bands. But Deftones, definitely a great band. Chino, he's got a really good voice. This band has never released a bad album, and you know what? Even though I'm pretty late to these guys, I am still very glad I got into them because these guys are just really excellent. They might go down as my favorite nu metal band. I don't know. Now, I've heard some arguments that say that they haven't been nu metal since Around the Fur, which is, I guess, a fair thing to say. Some people say they're alternative metal now, which, again, is a fair thing to say. But, again, like, even with their more experimental side, this band still somehow manages to never release a bad album. Even the weaker albums like Gore, I really dig that album. I really enjoy that one. But some of my favorites from the band would be Around the Fur, White Pony, Koyo no Kan, even the latest one, Ohms. I almost said Genesis, but that's the opening track from the album. But yeah, those are all great albums. I mean, even Diamond Eyes is really good. The self-titled and the debut, Adrenaline. This band has never had a bad album, all right? All their stuff is excellent. So Deftones, great bands. I mean, if you're into metal bands that rely heavily on melody and just, uniqueness, definitely check out Deftones. And they're definitely a really great band. Now, the last band I want to talk about is Black Lakes. Now, this is a band that is actually a pretty new band. I know the guys Will and Scott, of course, both really cool dudes. And these guys, Black Lakes, they're pretty good. I think their music is pretty catchy, especially with the choruses. The choruses are pretty catchy, especially with songs like Ghosts of Our Memories and Dissident. Now, those two songs are probably my two favorite songs from Black Lakes. Now, this is a pretty new band. They don't even have a full-length album out yet. I know they are planning to put out their debut full-length album, but they do have a self-titled EP, which is pretty good. But yeah, pretty small band. Definitely a band that I think deserves more attention. I'm not sure how to describe their sound. I would say that they're alternative metal, hard rock, something like that. So if you're into that kind of thing, definitely check out the band Black Lakes. So yeah, there you have it. I think they are a pretty unique band. So Black Lakes, they had to make the list. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my list of the bands that I've gotten into this year in 2020. Definitely great bands that you should check out if you haven't checked them out yet. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what bands you've gotten into in 2020. So on that note, thanks for watching, have a nice day, and take care.